This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're in Newcastle ahead of Robbie Davies Jr. Lewis-Ritson tomorrow evening. With me, Adam Smith. Adam, how have you been?
Good, Ryan. I mean, it's been a difficult week with the sad loss, of course, of Patrick Day. Our thoughts and prayers with his friends and family. So it's been a really hard week for the boxing world to digest that. And you know how close everybody is and can get to at times like this with the community. So yeah, it's been really difficult, and I'm sure it's very difficult for the excellent fighters who are on display in Newcastle this Saturday, and obviously a huge show next week at the O2 too. But they've, I guess, have got to concentrate on their jobs, their business, and we get on with the big show we have here in Newcastle and the one next week. But we don't stop thinking about the tragedy and the difficulty that's come to us from the other side of the pond, from Lou DiBella and Joe Higgins and everybody that was involved in it.
I'd just like to second that before we move on. A horrible time for boxing as a community, but more importantly for Patrick Day's loved ones, and we are, of course, thinking about them all. Moving away from that, this weekend, huge domestic doubleheader in Newcastle. Packed bill, talk to me about this. 9,000 screaming Geordies in there. Unbelievable night Saturday night.
It's a special city, isn't it, Newcastle? They're football mad. They're a wonderful brigade of fans. And, Lewis-Ritson has proved a few times now how well he sells and how popular boxing is and can be in Newcastle. I think it's been a bit of a sleeping giant of a city for football as well as for boxing, and I think that we've got a great show on Saturday night here. If Lewis-Ritson can win on Saturday, which is a very tough ask against a fired up Robbie Davies Jr., who in many people's eyes might start a slight favourite for this. It's a great fight. There's a great chief support with Ted Cheeseman putting his title on the line against Scott Fitzgerald, who's fired up after that win over Anthony Fowler. So it's a great double header, and it's a great card as well. And I think it's sold out. It was a wonderful atmosphere when Lewis-Ritson took on Beterbiev. Unfortunately, he didn't get the win for the home fans that night. So it will depend a bit. If he can shine Saturday night, then I think there's a real hope for some massive events in Newcastle going forwards. But it's a tough fight, and that's what we want to give. Really good matches, and I'm sure Liverpool and everyone behind Robbie Davies will be hoping that it goes the other way and that big nights again can happen in Liverpool. We know Callum Smith is on display November 23rd, so it's a sort of rivalry of cities at the moment. It was Manchester for so long. We are in Manchester on November 2nd, but Liverpool's thriving. Newcastle could be about to lift off again. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
There was criticism over the last few months, last year or so, of the quality of the Saturday fight night cards. I know you said you weren't completely happy with them. We've now got this show in Newcastle, we've got Manchester, we've got Liverpool, lots of good sort of free boxing shows, so to speak, over on Sky. Are we seeing that resurgence now and the effects of the demand for that sort of standard of Saturday night fight night shows? I
was very open with you, with Rob, with everybody I talked to at the beginning of the year, when Ted Cheeseman fought at the O2. I didn't think that was a good enough bill. I told Eddie. It actually turned out to be a decent night in reality, but on paper I wasn't happy with it. So, I think they answered that. We had a great night at the Copper Box, didn't we, with Charlie Edwards and Joshua Buatsi. We went to Liverpool to have Liam Smith at Eggington and a great night there. And look at what we've got. We've got this one in Newcastle. We've got November 2nd, Katie Taylor, UK and Ireland prime time. That's the important thing, to bring her back over from the States. We've got Joshua Buatsi again. I think that makes a really good blend. Katie and Joshua, both relentless in the ring, but angelic and lovely outside of it as well. And then you've got the great story to top it off with Anthony Croller and, probably his last fight, his last hurrah. So I hope the Manchester crowd come out, because he's done so much for boxing in that area. So really excited about that. You got November 23rd in Liverpool, arguably our biggest one of the year with Callum Smith. What a name to headline Sky Sports. He's not on a box office show, he's on Sky Sports defending his world title in a great domestic sort of match with John Ryder. Very excited about that. We've got a show coming from Monaco. We know AJ and Ruiz's rematch will be at UK time out in Saudi at 9 o'clock first bell. So yeah, I think that the fight fans here will get plenty coming up over the next few weeks, and that's without even talking about next week, which is a terrific bill with Prograis and Taylor, Chisora Price. Then on November 9th, we've got KSI and Logan Paul and Billy Joe and Devon Haney. So, it's fantastic times. I think it's probably the most powerful schedule we put together on Sky Boxing at the back end of any year.
You mentioned Josh Taylor, Regis Prograis next weekend, huge unification. when Lewis-Ritson had that loss to Patera, Eddie Hearn sort of said yesterday, it was almost like, it felt like the Newcastle dream was over. It was so flat and so disappointing for someone we thought was going to go on to such big things in the Northeast. Now he's in a situation where he's in a WBA eliminator against Robbie Davies. All of a sudden, it's not too far-fetched to say the winner of this fight could be facing the winner of next weekend's fight as well.
At a pretty big, maybe, stadium around here. If that happened, it would be huge, wouldn't it? It's a big ask for both fights. As I said, I think both of them are 50-50s. You know, if Regis could easily beat Josh Taylor and Robbie Davies, the same with Lewis-Ritson, and then you have to rethink again. But if Ritson comes through tomorrow night, and Josh, who I'm very fond of and have been for a long time, I've wanted him on Sky Sports for a long time, and I think that we had him back for the semi-final of the Super Series, and he's got a great chance of really making his dreams turn into reality by winning the Super Series final next week. And it's going to be tough. He's the underdog against Prograis, who's looked fantastic, powerful, a bit wild, difficult, and a lot of the Americans over there think he is the next coming. So that's a hard fight in itself next week, but they're two great fights for the fans. Let's see where we are by the sort of 27th, and if Josh Taylor and Lewis-Ritson have both come through, I think we'll be looking to some big event here in Newcastle, maybe in the spring.
Huge time for boxing at the minute. Obviously we've got this card Saturday night, but also this evening we've got Beterbiev-Gvozdyk. We've got another unification next week that we just spoke about. Firstly, your thoughts on Beterbiev-Gvozdyk? A lot of people are surprised it wasn't picked up by yourselves or by BT, but wonderful fight.
It's a wonderful fight. There's just so much happening actually that you can't really keep up with. So we've got so many of our shows, but it's a terrific fight. It's a great unification. There's arguments both ways. Again, there's very little in the odds. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a fantastic night over there. And yeah, there's just so much happening, and I think it's great. Our colleagues on BT, ITV Channel 5 have been involved. So look, we're just happy with our lot at Sky. We think we've got the best, as I said, schedule that we've probably had in years coming through Christmas. And with everything else in boxing, despite the really difficult period we've had this week with Patrick Day and his loss, and the fact that our thoughts are with over there with his family and his friends and his team and everybody that was involved in that. It is a very, very strong boxing period. But as I said, we are one big family. It might not look like it at times. It might be very political. It might be very controversial at times. But this is where boxing comes together, and we support each other. And, these guys have dreams. They know the risks when they get into the ring. We hopefully try and make it as safe as we can. The doctors, the paramedics, the British board are brilliant at that, but everyone's learning each and every time, and we hope that to avoid what happened last Saturday night in Chicago. But it is a dangerous sport. However, we go on, the fighters go on, they want to go on, and the fans want it to go on. So Newcastle, here we are.
Just picking this back up as we sort of had a weigh-in to deal with there, Adam. Very subdued between the two. Do you think the bad blood's cooled down as we creep closer?
I mean, very subdued, but what an atmosphere at the weigh-in. It was fantastic. It's brilliant being here in Newcastle. What a turnout in the shopping centre here. Everybody wants to be part of it, and what a cheer for Lewis-Ritson. They absolutely love him up here. Look, I thought both of them looked fantastic on the scales. So did Ted Cheeseman and so did Scott Fitzgerald. Four terrific athletes, four terrific fighters. Plenty of respect shown as well, and I think in the wake of what has happened this week in boxing, I think that's absolutely the right way to go about things. They're two great fights. They're two cracking fights. It's a wonderful bill, and we can't wait.
A few things I want to ask you about before we go. We've already spoken about the bill. Alexander Usyk, we're out in Chicago. Obviously, what we're about to talk about is no consolation and insignificant really compared to what happened with Patrick Day, but we will touch on it anyway. Made his heavyweight debut. Chaz Witherspoon, typical Usyk performance in many ways, took his time and then just went through the gears and was ultimately too good. What do you make of that performance?
Yeah, it's a night that can only belong to Patrick Day and his family and friends and everybody connected with that, and our thoughts remain with them, and everyone in boxing is close, and we pour our hearts out when things like this happen. I'm sure Alexander Usyk is feeling it too, and he had to get on with his job on the night, which was to move into the heavyweight division. I thought he looked good. I thought it was a slow start from him, but I think maybe not to be unexpected. Just feeling his way into the new weight, the new division, and I thought he handled it very well. He gets the win. That's the all important thing. He showed plenty of skills in there. And look, he wants to go for a world title next. I believe he's going to be in Saudi Arabia to watch Ruiz and AJ, and let's see what happens. But Alexander Usyk's going to be a threat to the heavyweights, whatever size they are.
And one other fight I wanted to get your thoughts on, Adam. We thought it was going to go to purse bids. Josh Kelly, David Avanesian. Didn't need purse bids. Eddie Hearn has agreed a deal. We don't know the date, the venue yet. Great fight, possibly even bigger, more significant fight given the recent form of both as well, compared to when it was first announced.
That's right. We nearly had it, nearly a year ago, and that was a real shame. That was called off at the last hour, but no, it's excellence, isn't it? Josh Kelly has so much potential. He's such a wonderful fighter, but he's sort of just dipped slightly. He had the draw out in the States, and a lot of pressure on him. But this is the fight that they called for. This is the fight they obviously want. So really looking forward to it because he's in with a very, very dangerous guy, and cannot wait for that one.
Hey, Adam, I'm going to let you go, but thank you very much as always. Speaking of Boxing Social.